Death Stranding is one of those games that you remember if you played, but if you didn't, let me fill you in. It hit that sweet spot where its reception wasn't so bad everyone knew about it, but it also wasn't good enough that it was praised.
What the fuck?
As everyone knows, the only video games that gamers care to talk about are games that suck so much ass that it sends shockwaves through the industry, or games that are popular enough that they can just shit on them for little to no reason and get away with it. Death Stranding wasn't incredibly popular, nor was it an industry failure. You know when you fuck up and die in the military base in GTA Online, so you spawn in the middle of nowhere and then you have to spend 5 minutes walking back to civilization? That's the gameplay of Death Stranding. You know how UPS drivers drive for hours in blizzards just so they can deliver your mom's Christmas present? That's the story of Death Stranding. You know sparkling water? That's the appeal of Death Stranding. The only people who like Death Stranding are the people who want to think of themselves as being special. People who think they're unique because they're the only ones who enjoy art while everyone else just plays their flashy first-person shooters. That's how I first saw Death Stranding. But eventually, I broke, and I decided to try sparkling water. And then I decided to try it again. And then I realized, maybe people don't just drink it to feel special, cause this shit is pretty good. For whatever reason, I kept pushing through with Death Stranding, and don't get me wrong, it was fucking tough. I was too used to my flashy first-person shooters, and I struggled to be entertained by the game. My brain was too used to the destination, and only through Death Stranding could I learn to appreciate the journey. Slowly I acclimated though, the same way you do with games like Animal Crossing and Minecraft, and I became able to appreciate Death Stranding for what it does right. It felt like my own personal adventure, the way you plot out your route before leaving, every sight I saw, every challenge I faced. It felt as if I had just happened to stumble upon it in this vast world. All the tools I was allotted to assist me with my journey felt genuinely satisfying as I knew what the trek was like unassisted. Snowboarding down hills or cruising on the bike, using a player-made ladder to cross a river, or zipline to climb a mountain. You boot up Call of Duty and there's like 3 dudes on voice chat screaming the most obscene and insulting shit you've heard in your entire life.
I'm so sorry, fuck you. I got that.
You're slamming the keyboard just trying to kill a dude, and soon you appreciate where Death Stranding's coming from. I'm not slamming my hands on the keyboard, hell I'm not even using both hands, I'm using one to hold my sparkling water. Some say that Death Stranding is just unrelenting tedium, but I like to argue many modern games are just unrelenting overstimulation. Don't get me wrong, I fucking love them, but if you only chase the games that give you the most immediate dopamine rush, you miss out on so much. I can't sit through Disco Elysium, I can't beat Fallout 2, but I can run around exploring and delivering packages in this funny little world now and again. That said, I am just talking about the gameplay here. If I'm gonna be honest, the story is the most nonsensical shit I've ever heard. Death Stranding demands you sit through a cutscene of a guy explaining the what, where, when, how of every single little thing until it all gets drowned out, and you get the ironic experience of having everything told to you, but nothing being shown effectively, making it all unretainable. Norman Reedus can't die, this big-ass fucking lady can't die, because apparently she is God, and also your mom who died in the beginning of the game. For some reason, the plot is also obsessed with the idea of saving America, even though there isn't much left to save. Like, who gives a fuck about America? This shit is about saving the human race. The entirety of Death Stranding's story is an absolute fever dream without the context the game tries too hard to provide. It lacks characters interesting enough to compel you, nor a world with a fascinating backstory that keeps you digging for info. All this said, the story and game of Death Stranding are two very different things. In a game like Red Dead Redemption 2, Arthur Morgan justifies what he does to protect himself and those he loves. That's until the controller's in my hands and I shoot some guy's fucking dick off. Ludonarrative dissonance sucks in a game like Red Dead Redemption, where both the story and gameplay are fairly solid and the game demands a certain amount of seriousness. But in Death Stranding, where the story is fucking garbage, being able to take one without the other isn't a bad thing in my opinion. Death Stranding starts, you watch 30 minutes of cutscenes, then 40 hours of walking commences, then 30 minutes of cutscenes at the end. You don't have to fight the game's story because you don't understand it. It's literally so disconnected from the actual game, it comes off as intentional. Almost as if Hideo Kojima sat everyone down in the middle of development to let them know the story was ass, and instead of rewriting it, they just decided to make it effectively optional. I do not think Death Stranding is a perfect game. Death Stranding is a very flawed game, but even if you fucking hate this game, you've got to admit, for better or for worse, it's trying something new. In a sea of games competing with each other instead of trying to innovate over each other, I can appreciate that Death Stranding tries to stand out and be different, even if it doesn't really work 100% of the time. Now, everything said though, I have to be completely upfront and honest. I may have learned to appreciate Death Stranding despite its issues, but if I'm gonna be real, sparkling water still tastes like piss.
But I'm a creep, I'm a weirdo. What am I doing here? I don't belong here.